Hey, so good to see you, even though I can't see you. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm so excited that you are here at the Persevere podcast. My name is Kelvin Crosby, also known as the DeafBlind Potter. Today on Persevere podcast, this guest has died. Haven't we heard that in a previous episode, like Spencer Renfro? But this guy died a different way. What's amazing is how this guy continues to persevere. And now he's wanting to help others persevere through their struggles. This guy, I kind of think I would say more of a cowboy rancher type of guy. And I think you're in for a treat to see who this man is and how he has persevered through his challenges. So you ready to go on this journey with me? Let's do this. Persevering is what can allow you to overcome. But you have to find joy in the pain that you live with. It's not going to be easy. But the reward and the character that you will build in persevering through your challenges will be so rewarding. It will give you so much hope. Are you ready to persevere through your challenges? Let's do this. Hey, Michael Ray, welcome to the Persevering Podcast, man.
How you doing, Calvin?
I'm good. I am excited to be able to get people to know your story and how God has worked in your life, met you in times of just despair. But before we get there, I want to kind of dive in with you and kind of understand, what was your childhood like? Because I feel like we all need to know where that is. Because normally when we have to persevere through challenges, there's always a little bit of hint from our childhood that affects us in the future. So kind of tell us a little bit about your childhood.
I grew up in the 60s and 70s where things were a little more simple. We played in the dirt. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have air conditioning. I mean, Louisiana and all these things are hot, humid places. But it didn't really matter when you're 8, 9, 10 years old or 15 or so. My mom and dad divorced, I think in 69. I remember seeing my mom get the divorce papers, and she was quite upset. So we kind of just lived with my mom back behind my grandma's house. Back then, to me, it was fun because I would do stuff like hustle carts. And so we didn't have any money. I mean, we had all summer, didn't have any shoes, which, because I tore them up. And that's why mom didn't want to buy them, because she had no money. So I would go down to the grocery store and I'd say, "Hey, ma'am, you mind if we push your cart for 10 cents? And she'd go, "Oh, sure." And I'd have my brother do the work while I'd go sell more. Okay. My mom always told me I was a salesman. I said, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But no, I kind of have that salesman attitude. So back then we didn't have much money, right? So mom couldn't afford these, and they're called ice cream pies. You see them now for probably, I don't know, a couple bucks. They was a quarter then. So if we could push 5 carts, we can get 1 pie. If I can get him to really help him do extra, I can get 10 cents. One lady give us a quarter. And so we'd make like 75 cents. And I'd go in and get the chocolate one. I think he got the strawberry one. So we're walking down the street back home. And the streets then wasn't concrete. They was tar and gravel. Wow. So right before election time, they would gravel them so they can get the votes. But before that, it was hot tar. And so we would walk down the street popping hot tar bubbles with our toes, eating ice cream. And to me, it was a bad situation, but it was a lot of fun too. But, my dad wasn't around. He was a good man. He kind of lost his way somewhat. And later on, we got together more so. And I was always into something. Back then, I was 9 years old in 69, so I'm an older guy now. But we didn't have the internet. We didn't have video games. And so we would play dirt and all this and that. And then I come up with a great idea. Say, hey, let's have beer can fights. Because we had no money, and then we had plenty of beer cans, and we liked to rumble, so let's go, I had the moronic idea of twisting them, which would really bang you up more, So that was the things I always was into, something like that. And when the street lights went down, you came home. And my mom's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, what's wrong with you, lady? What's going on, Mom?" She turned me around. The whole back of my shirt was full of blood. The kids had knocked me in the back of the head and was bleeding on my shirt, but they wouldn't stop me because they was having so much fun. We was having fun.
So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. So you found your bride, and you guys have been married how long now?
Almost 30 years.
So you guys end up having a handful of kids.
Yeah, we had a mess of them, and we got about 5 of them in the litter.
And now you're grandparents, and you feel like this is like the best time of your life.
Yeah, it is. And again, back to my childhood, my grandpa, the dogs wouldn't shut up, and he goes, shut up, I'm trying to eat cereal or whatever he's doing. He had a shotgun, and he pointed it up in the air and just kind of boomed it, up in the air to scare the dogs or something. And I'm like, this is cool. And my mom's like, no, get in the house. So we don't do any of that stuff anymore.
But you do live in Wyoming.
I live in Wyoming,
okay.
Yeah. So if something like that happened next door, it wouldn't even bother me.
So you went into the military. Kind of tell us that story.
My sister, who I love very much, she went in the Air Force. Once she got out of training, they would send her to Grand Forks, and send her to some other place. And she finally called and said, just send me someplace. They sent her to Omaha. And so I was living in Louisiana, and I thought, man, this is hot down here. And so I went to Omaha and see her, and I really liked that place around there. There wasn't a whole lot of jobs available. I didn't really have any skills other than working on cars, and I didn't really want to do that. So I said, well, I'm going to try the military. At least I'll have some other way of doing something. Got into like a logistics things, like a quartermaster, they call it. I loved that. I loved being in different places. I went to basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and Dad come out to see me. It was one of the best times we ever had. And then we were sitting there, and they take me to AIT in Fort Lee, Virginia. And there, where your duty station is going to be. Are you going to be stateside? You're going to be Korea? You're going to be this or that? And I'm like, come on, Lord, give me Germany. Yeah, I got to go to Germany.
So you got out of the military, and then you raised your kids. And then as your youngest child is becoming an adult, you find yourself having some acid reflux problems. Kind of tell us that story.
So when I first got out, it was like in 87. I was actually working with my future brother-in-law. I didn't even know it. And actually, I used to go to Lake and see my future father-in-law. But when I got out of the service, as most people, when they get out of the service, about 70% of them don't know what they're going to do for 18 months. They have no clue. It's a whole shock thing because I was a 76 Charlie, so I was helping with ammunition, I helped with supplies, sheets, motor pool, all this stuff. And bam, now you're back in the world, as you used to say, back on the block. Well, now it's like, wait a minute, I did this for the past 3, 4, 5 years. What am I going to do now? So my brother-in-law at the time, he said, you got nothing to do? Come on, let's go roofing. And so we roofed for a while, and I had a company for a while. And a lot of times, if you have business, you got to really take care of your health. I didn't do that. I had acid reflux way back 10 years before this. I went down to close to Colorado, top of Colorado, and I had just massive heartburn. Made me feel like barfy, and I'm like, I just couldn't take it no more. And I've had it for like 2 days. I said, I've always had heartburn. I've always had acid reflux type stuff. But I'll go to the doctor anyway, So I went to go see the doc, and really nice guy. He reminds me of like a dad. But he goes, you got something else going on. You okay with helicopters? And I said, well, I've never been in one. I guess, And so one wasn't available. So they put me in the bus, they call it, and the ambulance, and they drove me down to Loveland, Colorado. And I'm talking to these guys like we're talking right here. I called the wife and said, hey, they found something weird or something, and I'll call you later, okay? And okay, see you later, love you, bye. And so ambulance backed up, and I hear the beep, beep, and then all of a sudden, nothing. Just like silence like that right there, and I was asleep or drugs. I'm like, wow, this is cool. Man, I feel pretty good, And it just felt like everything was at peace. Well, I died.
That's the last thing you remember is the beep, beep, beep.
That's the last thing I remember.
What did you see?
I saw a black wall, and it took me a while to remember this because I said, man, they put some drugs in me that just, wow, knocked me out. And he goes, no, we didn't do anything to you. So when I died, the first thing I felt was my kids were okay. I just felt that they're just going to be just absolutely fine. And there was a big black wall there. And I was pounding that wall to try to get through. I had to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing else mattered. I was going through that other side. And I pounded and pounded it. And then 4.5 days later, I woke up. And what I take from that is that it's going to be okay when you go home, but it's going to be his choice, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, I'm pounding to get through that wall that he says, no, go back, dude. You got more to do. You got to take care of something. It feels so good that I've never felt anything like that before.
You wake up and you learn that you had a heart attack.
The Widowmaker, you got like about a 5% chance of survival.
You go through this journey knowing that you have peace, that your faith in Christ, your Lord and Savior, is going to call you home when it's his time. As you, the listener, I want you to understand something. When you face hard times in life, when you face a medical situation like this, you need to rely on God's timing. Because as you will learn, Michael has more to his story. God is not done with Michael. And I want you to start thinking about, what is God trying to do in my life? Because that is what we are called to do in our relationship with Christ, is to go out and make disciples. Whatever that looks like, whether that's your workplace, that's at school, whether that's at your retirement home, whether that's with your grandkids or your children, or just posting something on social media. God has called you for this time at this moment. See, this heart attack for Mike really impacted him in a way, and we're going to see what that was in a second. What God started doing in his life allowed him to be able to start sharing this story to others, to encourage others. So, Michael, kind of tell us a little bit about your heart attack.
It's called the Widowmaker. And the reason why it is, if you take a look at somebody and the left side of them is kind of like, the way it's explained to me, is the brain part of the heart blows out. The reason why you have the acid reflux is because it affects so many different things. Your muscles, you can't move them, or your face would distort, or something like that with strokes or whatever. It's like a computer of sorts. Somebody said one time, I don't know if it's true or not, that the heart has its own brain, its own kind of like a feeling of sorts, And so when that acid reflux happens, and you absolutely cannot solve it with all these bigger medications, there's a problem. And you're best to get your, what they're called laterals, up and down, which are tiny ones, and there's some bigger ones. Absolutely everything in mine was plugged. So when I died in that ambulance and they wheeled me in there, the first thing they did, they run a stent, like a fish wire stent, whatever, up my leg, and they unblocked that. When they did that, at the same time, they put me on an artificial heart. So my heart could be still, so they can stent it and then slowly release it in. That's why it took 4.5 days for me to come back too, because they had to make sure that everything was reacting like it should. So I come in there, and 4.5 days later, I wake up. She goes, "Where are you from?" And I told her, and okay, you're coherent. And I look to the right of me, and I see this big face, big, beautiful face. I'm like, who is that? It was my wife. She was happy to see me. But she was so happy to see me, her smile was like 2 million miles wide and in my face. And it was so big, it looked like a billboard,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, and they wheeled me into the other room. And this doctor come in, and he's dancing. I looked at him, and I'm like, that guy's nuts. The reason why he's dancing, because you died. I'm like, oh. It's the reason why that doc was dancing and celebrating so much. He saved a man's life within seconds. I mean, we're talking seconds. And in Wyoming, you take off from any city, it's 75 miles to get fuel. You're in the middle of the desert. You're not going, a high desert. You're not going nowhere, So if I had not went there and just went home like I was planning, I wouldn't be here talking now. So when I woke up, I could only use my right arm too. I couldn't set up. I couldn't move my legs, nothing. First thing I thought was I had a stroke, and I didn't. It come to be that they just saved my life. You'd never been in a place like that unless you've been in a place like that, or you don't know what you don't know. And I tell you what, I know heart is so important. That heart controls everything.
So you come out of this with a whole new purpose. You end up getting full function of your body, and you're realizing God, there's a reason why you kept me alive.
Yeah.
Kind of tell us, where did the clarity start coming to you, seeing, God, this is what you want me to do, and this is why I'm still here, and I'm going to continue to persevere in this challenge?
But when this thing happened, I'm a commercial truck driver, so all this stuff is fine. I'm up to spec, as they say in the DOT world. The purpose of me being here is to help people, to tell people about this story right here, this heart attack. Imagine in the middle of the night, it could have been boom, and that's why some people go.
This is what I'm seeing, is that he really brought you here to help activate people from the hostage that they're in, so that way they can be set free and to further God's kingdom in a whole different way than they currently are at the moment. And I think that's what is amazing, and you can see the problem, help them solve the problem with a solution that will not only help them, but hundreds and millions of other people. It sounds so simple, but not everybody can think that way. It takes somebody like you to come in and say, hey, let me help you out. Let me help you work this system better. So that way you can further what you are doing in your business and then expand it even more. I want to encourage you as a listener. Do you feel like you're in the mundane process where you keep saying, oh, I'm persevering, but you're stuck? You're being held hostage by your job, by your career, by your business, by being a single parent. I want you to take it to the Lord and ask Him to bring somebody into your life to help you open your eyes, to see how you can make whatever that struggle, that thing that's holding you hostage, to really make it bloom in a way that furthers God's kingdom, but it really launches you through that process to persevere through your challenges and help those around you. Because part of persevering is that you have to help somebody. Because if you're just trying to persevere on your own terms and you're not doing anything to help anybody, you're just driving your own wheels. And that's not what God called us to do. God has called us for a time as this to go out and make disciples. And I love how Michael is kind of sharing with us. It's not this grand, oh, I'm speaking on public platforms and I'm doing all these things. No, he's empowering individuals one at a time to further the kingdom of God. Part of our lives is to keep moving forward. And I want to encourage you, reach out to me at kelvin@perseveringpodcast.com and let's start getting you pulled out of this hole so that way you can be activated and really persevere through your challenges that you're facing. So, Michael, kind of tell us, where can people get involved in getting activated and starting this idea and how to either grow their financial independence and or even just expanding their business?
Well, it's going to be held at the coachinglove.com. I really love that part of it. I love helping people. This program that we have is going to help us do one-on-one coaching. We're going to get you a plan together, bring your ideas, not only for yourself, but how to help somebody else. So if somebody has a tire shop in Wright, Wyoming, and you got a tire shop in Two Elbows, Nevada, you guys got something in common. Some of the stuff he may do, things that work in Nevada ain't going to work in Wyoming, but vice versa. And some stuff will. Ultimate goal is to get you more family time.
So, and then if people want to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
They go through coachinglove.com, and will be a link there. But you can also email me at mike@michaellray.com.
Sound good. Well, Michael, it's been awesome having you on the Persevering Podcast. And I tell you, this has been a journey that you've had to go through, and I'm excited for people to hear this and then truly use your journey to activate their journey to move forward for Christ. So I appreciate it, man.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, Calvin.
Here comes your Perseverance Corner. Today's passage is John 14, 1-3. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, so also believe in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that was not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, and I'll come back and take you to be with me, so you'll also be where I am. As we look at this passage, we look at what Jesus is making his promise. When we bring him into our lives, that he takes care of us. And if we look at Michael's story, and God is taking care of Michael. He's given an opportunity to help others. Here, I want us to be reminded that our time on earth is preparing our home in heaven. When Jesus said this to the disciples and to the people, saying, I'm preparing your home. This is why I need to leave. But I'm going to come back for you. This is where our hope is at. Is the fact that no matter how disgusting today's society becomes, we can lean on this hope that Jesus is coming back because he's preparing our home. There's plenty of space for all of us. And that's the beauty of knowing that God has it all under his plan, under his control. We don't have to do it on our own. And I really want to encourage you today to really step into faith in the hope of Christ, that he's preparing your place today, and allow you to be able to come home and say, I'm with him. Because Jesus wants you to be with him. But we're here on earth doing our time in regards to helping people, encouraging people, and uplifting individuals to live beyond their challenges and really prepare the opportunity for people to join us in heaven. So if we think about it in those terms, Jesus already got our home taken care of in heaven. Our goal here is to help Jesus prepare more homes for more believers. So if we keep it in that perspective, it makes everything more hopeful. So I hope that was encouraging for you. Here comes your announcement. As you can probably tell, I am under the weather. I've been this way for almost 4 weeks, and it has driven me crazy. I have done multiple podcasts with this voice, and as a deafblind guy, this voice is not easy, so I do apologize. Just being praying that I can make a full recovery, get this nastiness out of my body, and move forward. So the update on the See Me cane, out of me recording this, there really isn't a lot more than the See Me cane is in its final stages of being designed for testing. And so hopefully by the time this is out, I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina, testing the new version of the See Me cane for final testing for production. And when the next episode comes out in May, we should be ready in Louisiana, building out the See Me cane production line. That is our hope, but just be praying that God opens up the door and testing goes smoothly. We don't have to fix anything, and everything comes out perfectly. Because honestly, as you all know, this has been a long journey. So, second announcement on this is, if you know somebody that wants a See Me cane, they can pre-order the new See Me cane, which is the See Me cane 1R. The R stands for rigid cane, and it's the new version of the See Me cane. Better battery life, better handle, better removable handle, all the good things that is in the new See Me cane. And you get $75 off. The coupon's already applied, so you don't have to worry about having a promo code for that. So that's at seemecane.com. Third announcement is investing in accessibility. It's a new podcast that I started in January, and it's all about how, if we to invest in accessibility for universal access for all people, whether disability or not, it's a growth in investment opportunities, and it creates access for everybody with disabilities, including people that are able-bodied. So that's where, when we think about investing in accessibility, we are able to see the growth financially and how, if we were to invest in it, design for it, build it, it makes it more accessible for people with disabilities to have access to the world. So that is at Investing in Accessibility, anywhere you find your podcast. And so you get to hear me and my co-host, Chris Marr. So that is Investing in Accessibility. Lastly, just be in prayer in this season. We're going to be going through a new chapter in our family life. We're not really sure what it looks like, but just be praying that God gives us wisdom, give us understanding, and give us clarity, and help us be wise in our steps forward, especially with my wife and I, as we go into these new days in our lives, in our marriage, and in our process, in working out a lot of these new things that we're not sure what's going to look like. I can't really give you the details because there's legal things involved, but just be praying that God paves the way that is smooth, it is wise, it's safe, and it is in the best interest of all parties. So that wraps up the Perseverance Podcast. As I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I will see you next month. Now you ready to persevere for your challenges today. Thank you for joining me on the Perseverance Podcast. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can email me at kelvin@perseverancepodcast.com. You can also follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at DeafBlind Potter. If you'd like to buy some merch or some DeafBlind Potter pieces, you can go to DeafBlindPotter.com. Please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe to the Perseverance Podcast so you don't miss an episode. That way, you and I can continue living beyond our challenges and persevering through them too.